Now, the successors of Akbar, three more rulers were there: Jahangir, Shah Jahan, and Aurangzeb, who were from the family of Babur only, and Jahangir was the son of Akbar. Jahangir followed the same tolerant policy towards Indian subjects, and as a lover of art, he was one of the most famous connoisseur of painting. His painters specialized in various themes, as you will see in the painting, right? Like Ustad Mansoor in Fauna and Flora, you can see here the painting of a zebra, which is painted by Ustad Mansoor. Abul Hassan in the European style paintings, you can see painting of Jahangir, where he's shooting a head of a person and he's standing on a globe, and the globe is standing on a cow and on fish. That is the part of Hindu mythology. And you can see the European angels, the angels also who are bringing crown to the head of Jahangir. You can also see the bust of Jahangir in a very European fashion, and in one of the painting, as is there, he is holding a picture of his father Akbar. Many art historians like Lefebvre, Abercourt, and Milo Beach, and Professor S.P. Verma agree that Mughal art, with a focus on realism and naturalism, achieved the heights of perfection under Jahangir. It was during his time that the art of pictura also arrived. The art of pictura, it's like art of filling a cavity of a particular in a particular shape in stone and filling it with the precious and semi-precious stones. As far as, so you can see some specimen of pictura which comes from Jahangir's time. This comes from the tomb of Itmad-ud-Dawla, who was one of the very important noble of Jahangir. He was his prime minister and also father of his favorite wife, Nur Jahan. As far as the religion is concerned, he remained liberal till the time state interest was not in danger. His time also witnessed the construction of a large number of terraced gardens in Kashmir, Agra and Lahore, and the first marble royal tomb of Queen's parents was also built, today known as the Mini Taj Mahal. The structure that you are seeing on the slide is Itmad-ud-Dawla's tomb, which is popularly known in Agra as the Baby Taj Mahal or the Mini Taj Mahal. It was during the period of Jahangir that the English got the permission to establish their factories in the western and eastern coast of India, while the Portuguese were already represented the European elements. They also got the trading concessions from Jahangir. Thus, it laid the foundation of the future colonial rule in India. After Jahangir, his son Shah Jahan became the emperor, and during Shah Jahan's period, a large number of building activities started, and he was the patron of architecture, and especially marble buildings were constructed during his period, including the Red Fort of Delhi, which is there on the topmost corner, with the marble royal palace quarters, which is there on the right corner. City of Shahjahanabad, presently known as Old Delhi, was also constructed by him. The Taj Mahal, the very famous Taj Mahal, one of the 7 wonders of the world, was also constructed by him, and also the biggest mosque of the time, Jama Masjid of Delhi, was also constructed by him. Under Shah Jahan, his son Dara Shikoh advocated religious tolerance. He patronized Hindu scholars, Jews, and even Christians. He wanted all the religions to be treated equally and protected. He even allowed idol worship for Hindus. He was a philosopher with a Sufi bent of mind. Grants to the temples were given, orthodox elements like ulemas, Maulvis were ridiculed, and syncretic culture atmosphere was promoted. He wrote many books blending Quranic pantheistic philosophy with the ancient Vedantic philosophy in Sirre Akbar, Majma'ul Bahrain, Saifatul Awliya, Sakinatul Awliya, and Hasnatul Arifin. It was owing to his liberal policy that his younger brother Aurangzeb claimed the throne, the Mughal throne of India, as his rival opponent, gave the war cry of Islam in danger, and defeated and executed Dara and became the emperor. Aurangzeb, the second son of Shah Jahan, till today is known as one of the most orthodox Mughal ruler in India, who persecuted Hindus, destroyed Hindu temples, and followed bigotry. While Pakistan historians hail him as the champion of Islam, the Indian historians, the Indian communal historians blame him for the persecution of Hindus. Recently, the lanes of Delhi, which has the name of Aurangzeb, has also been renamed, such as the hatred for Aurangzeb, which is still is existing in India. The point is that the term religious policy is applied to the actions and reactions of the rulers and the ruled only when the two had different religions. If the rulers tackle their own religious community favorably or unfavorably, it ceases to be a matter of religious policy. That is why the published curse poured upon Aurangzeb's head for his anti-Hindu measures are available in abundance, but there is a virtual death of criticism for his suppressive attitude towards the leading Muslim scholars, philosophers, and saints like Sarmad, Shah Muhammad Badakshi, Muhammad Tahir, and Sayyid Qutbuddin Ahmedabadi, who were executed on Aurangzeb's orders. Aurangzeb's reign is shrouded in controversy. The opinions of the scholars sharply divided, especially on matters pertaining to religion. There are essentially three main categories of the scholars: Sir Jadunath Sarkar, S.R. Sharma, and A.L. Shrivastava, who find Aurangzeb guilty of religious bigotry and persecution. Then we have Shibli Nomani, Zahiruddin Farooqi, and Ishtiyaq Hussain Qureshi, who justify most of the Aurangzeb's actions as political expedients. Satish Chandra and Professor M. Athar Ali attempts a neutral analysis of Aurangzeb's acts without getting embroiled into the for or against controversy. We have the advantage of having the details of the records cited by scholars writing on Aurangzeb. Thus, we have divided Aurangzeb's measures into two parts: minor inconsequential ordinances and the major ones that could be considered as part of a state policy. Now we shall discuss these measures in a sequence and on their basis make an overall assessment of Aurangzeb with regard to his religious affairs. As for the first, the following may take note of, like the Aurangzeb forbade the kalma, Islamic confession of faith, from being stamped on his coins, lest the holy words might be desecrated underfoot or defiled by the non-believers. Nowruz, the New Year's Day of the Zoroastrian calendar celebrations going on since his predecessor's time, was also abolished by Aurangzeb. Old mosques, which were neglected earlier, were ordered to be repaired, and imams and muezzins, the ones who gave the call to prayer, were appointed on a regular salary. A censor of morals, muhtasibs, were appointed to enforce the Prophet's laws and put down the practices forbidden by him, such as drinking spirits, use of marijuana, gambling, and commercial sex. The ceremony of weighing the emperor against gold and silver on his birthdays, that is according to the lunar and solar calendars, was stopped. In 1665, the emperor instructed the governor of Gujarat that Diwali and Holi should be celebrated outside the bazaars of city of Ahmedabad and its parganas. The reason given the partial ban of Holi was that the Hindus opened their mouths in obscene speech and kindled the holy bonfire in chaklas and bazaar, throwing into fire the fagot of all people that they can seize by force and their theft. There was a practice of Jharoka Darshan, where the emperor used to come on the window and used to show himself first thing in the morning to his subjects. It was also discontinued after the 11th regnal year of Aurangzeb. The emperor took it to be un-Islamic because the groups of the Darshanyas regarded the sovereign as their earthly divinity, and therefore they did not eat anything before they had the darshan of the emperor. And this was, according to Aurangzeb, just like visiting the temple, seeing the idol, and then breaking the fast. Aurangzeb forbade the court musicians to perform before him, as he had no liking for the pleasure, and his application to business left him no time for amusement. Gradually, music was totally forbidden at court. However, the musicians were given pension on the other hand. The royal band, that is Naubat, was retained. Now, the first 5 measures reflect Aurangzeb's Islamic concern and his zeal for social reforms as well. None of these could be called anti-Hindu. The same is true for the 7th and 8th regulation. Only the 6th measure touches the Hindus directly. Sir Jadunath Sarkar, in his book, The History of Aurangzeb and India after the after the death of Aurangzeb. He comments that it was really a police regulations as regard Holi, an act of bigotry in connection with the Diwali. This is a well-considered verdict, though Sarkar overlooks the point that there was no general ban on Diwali or Holi in the empire. This should be juxtaposed with Aurangzeb's order for putting a stop to Muharram's procession in all the provinces after a deadly fight between the rival processions had taken place at Burhanpur in January in 1669. This ban too was a police regulation, but in contrast with Diwali and Holi, it was not confined to any particular province. The seventh measure, that is concerning the Jharoka Darshan, where the emperor was showing himself to his subject, had nothing to do with the Hindu community as such. It was prompted by the emperor's personal perception of the Islamic tenets. The eighth order, stopping musical parties at the court, could no stretch of imagination be perceived or having been aimed against the Hindus. In all likelihood, the Muslim musicians at the court, such as Khushal Khan and Ustad Bisram Khan, were the ones who were affected. Moreover, the nobles did not stop listening to music. Let us now take up the major ordinances which could be considered to have been issued to hit the Hindus directly as the matter of state policy throughout the Mughal Empire. The first is the demolition of Hindu temples which were newly constructed. Now, before I go on to that, I want you to have a look at the political map. This is the rule of the Aurangzeb, the political boundaries. So it's only the the tip of the Kanyakumari and the part of the Kerala that is left untouched by Aurangzeb. Otherwise, he has ruled almost from the extreme northwest to the Karnataka and to the southernmost regions of India. So he had a large number of Hindus and Muslims and Christians under his rule. Now, Aurangzeb's orders were operative in whole of the empire, and he ordered for the destruction of the temples in Banaras. He also instructed that old temples were not to be repaired. In 1670, a farman was issued that all temples constructed in Odisha during the last 10 to 12 years, whether with brick or clay, should be demolished without delay. Some of the important temples destroyed during Aurangzeb's were Vishwanath Temple of Banaras, the Keshavrai Temple of Mathura, and the second Temple of Somnath. In 1644, when he was the Viceroy of Gujarat and is still a prince, he had desecrated the recently built temple of Chintaman at Ahmedabad by killing a cow in it and then turned this building into a mosque. Now, killing of cows in other temples too was deliberate. The case of Mathura temple is interesting. The temple was built by Bir Singh Bundela, who had gained Jahangir's favor, for saying Abul Fazl. Jahangir had allowed his noble to build this Govindrai temple of Mathura. Now Aurangzeb converted this temple destroyed this temple, built a mosque, and he changed the name of Mathura to Islamabad. The next major measure was the reimposition of jizya in 1679, which was abolished by Akbar long ago. This act of Aurangzeb has puzzled many modern scholars. Some, like Jadanath Sarkar, see it clearly as a case of bigotry in tune with the temple destruction. But Satish Chandra, in his book Jizya and the State in India during the 17th century, links it up with the Deccan problem. Deccan problem, which is concerning with the Golconda, Bijapur and the Marathas. He says that the emperor was in deep political crisis, which led him to do something spectacular in order to win the unflinching support of the Muslims, especially the Orthodox group. It was also thought that the imposition of jizya might have been due to the financial crisis. But this is untenable because the income from jizya was insignificant. Another act related to the issue of orders in 1655, asking the Hindus to pay 5.7% custom duties on goods as against 2.5% by the Muslim merchants. Another farman was issued in 1671 to the effect that revenue collectors of the Khalisa land must be Muslims. Later on, he unwillingly allowed the Hindus to be employed in certain departments only, provided that their number were kept at least half of that of the Muslims. Aurangzeb, however, seems to be an enigmatic personality. In contrast with his acts of intolerance, we find him inducting a large number of non-Muslim officers in the state bureaucracy, Aurangzeb did not reduce the percentage of the Hindus in the mansabs, rather it was higher compared to his predecessors. In fact, after Akbar, if Mughal India had a Hindu divan, it was during the time of Aurangzeb. Many Hindus held high posts, including Raja Jaswant Singh, Raja Jai Singh, and Raja Rai Singh. Two were appointed governors. It also has an extremely significant point that the same emperor who demolished as many places of worship simultaneously issued grant in several instances for the maintenance of temples and the priest. As has been pointed out, Professor Irfan Habib, that Aurangzeb renewed the grant to the Vrindavan temples, and also Jain Mahakal temple inscription talks about the donation of Aurangzeb to that temple. A psychosomatic explanation for these acts of Aurangzeb suggests that he had developed an intense consciousness of guilt. He was the person who had killed his 4 brothers to have the throne for himself and imprisoned his old father Shah Jahan, something that had never happened in the Mughal history from Babur to Shah Jahan. The last act even violated Turai Chagtai or Turai Changezi by ascending the throne while his reigning father was still alive. Such a person was sooner or later bound to be overtaken by an unprecedented remorse, penitence, and contrite. His actions possibly emanated from this feeling, and he took shelter in the Islamic shell. In this respect, all his acts were ultimately the consequence of his individual decision. Whatever the reasons are, but Aurangzeb and earlier the Mahmud Ghaznavi had been made the villains in Indian history by our colonial historians. And even today, they remain the subjects of hatred in India. Now, after Aurangzeb's death, we do not find any strong ruler, and there is no doubt that Aurangzeb kept the borders of India safe from foreign invasion and extended Mughal borders in the Deccan. After his death, due to the absence of any strong Mughal ruler, North India once again was divided into many political units, and rise of new states like Bengal, Awadh, Hyderabad, Mysore under the new rulers, and it witnessed invasions once again from Iran and Afghanistan, firstly by Nadir Shah Durrani, who not only defeated the then Mughal ruler Shah Alam II, but also blinded him. He took famous Kohinoor diamond, not to say the immense wealth, and this Kohinoor diamond, which is presently at the Tower of London in England. He also took gold peacock throne, which was made with the solid gold and weighed almost 56 kgs of the gold, and much wealth from India. Secondly, the second attack was by his Afghan commander Ahmad Shah Abdali. These attacks further reduced the glory and power of the Mughals, which resulted in the political anarchy and strengthening of British and the French hold in India. British resident was now permanently placed at the Mughal court, and by 1765 they became the rulers of Bengal after defeating Nawab Siraj-ud-Dawla. By 1857 they became the rulers of India after suppressing the Indian mutiny, headed by the last Mughal emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar. The 72 years old Mughal rulers, along with his wife, was banished from India, sent to Rangoon where he died, and his sons were brutally executed in Delhi. This revolt presented a unique front of Hindu-Muslim unity, an aspect which the new ruler wanted to vanish from India. By the 19th century, the colonialists had extended and established their rule formally in India by following division of Indians on the basis of religion and language. They did so by translating Persian sources of Islamic rule in India, and especially those paragraphs where persecution and destruction of old temples existed in order to justify their just rule. Eliot and Dowson, who have translated these sources into 13 volumes, they open the translation by saying that here are the bombastic Bengali Babus claiming and saying how ill we are governed under the British rule. Here we have to show you how badly you were governed under the Muslim rule. So the intentions of the rulers was very clear. They wanted to develop the hatred for the Muslim rule in India. They also divided the languages, Hindi for Hindus and Urdu for Muslims. The partition of India in 1947 was done on the basis of religion and language, a feature which was not even existing under the Islamic rule.